Hello, everyone. My name is Jane Chudinov, and I lead marketing and sales at Rigamajig. And today we are talking with our very own Cas Holman, the brilliant mind behind Rigamajig and other innovative play products loved by children, parents, and educators around the world. Cas has recently turned her attention to a different audience entirely, adults who've stopped playing. Her new book, Playful, explores why grown-ups desperately need to rediscover play, not only for fun, but for their mental health, creativity, and problem-solving abilities. Cass, what sparked your journey from designing toys for children to writing about play for adults?
Well, in the time that I've been working with and designing for play for children, I always consider the adults and the educators and the museum staff, and I kind of think about the whole system in which the child's play is supported. So when I'm designing a play space or a learning material, I'm always thinking about the adults in the room. But what I found was, as I talked about it and talked to people, they would kind of pull me aside afterward, or the question would come up after a lecture or a presentation, and they'd kind of say like, "So, what about adults?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like here's the place where you can store the things, or here's the prompts that you can give to children." And they said, no, but what about us for play? And at first I was kind of alarmed, but it started coming up every time. So over the last 20 years, I have to say, like um, I've had to answer the question. And I started thinking more directly about what is it about adults in play, and why is it hard for us to access kind of our own intuitively driven free play in particular, right? I think we're often really great at sports and video games, and we might go dancing or do have some intramural things. But I really started to realize how hard it is for adults to play. And so that's kind of what led to the book. And also realizing that I had quite a bit of experience helping adults play through my teaching as a professor of design and a professor of art. A lot of what I was doing was helping my students kind of reconnect with their play, because art making and design, I think, is largely play for a lot of people. Yeah, so that was why. And I also realized very early on that my skill set is in designing and thinking and facilitating play for others, but I wasn't necessarily so skilled in writing a book. So I also had to figure out how to make that process play for me, because my work is also my play. When I'm designing things, it feels like play, I connect with my own play and enter a flow state and reap the benefits and feel incredible because of it while I'm doing it. And I, as I, for the first year or so that I was starting to work on the book, it didn't feel like that. And so I realized part of what I needed to do was find a collaborator, find somebody to kind of make it play with, and someone who had a skill set that I did not. So we connected with Lydia Denworth, who is my co-writer and was a wonderful collaborator for me, so that the process became play. We had a lot of playful conversations. The way that we kind of organized and sorted the book was really playful. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from. The other, I think, interesting thing with the book, so it's a narrative nonfiction, kind of a big idea book, why play matters and why adults need and how we might integrate more free play in our lives. I also looked back at the last well, kind of a lifetime of play. And as a designer for play, I've managed to maintain my own playfulness as an adult through adulthood. And so there's a bit of memoir in there as well. And I think that there's some pretty interesting and funny anecdotes from my own life of play. I've had an interesting path getting to where I am, and had an incredible experiences working with big companies and small schools and individuals, and everything from adventure playgrounds to forest schools to corporations, and and so the book also has quite a bit of my experiences and observations in working with all of those people around play, right? That's like my entry point to all of my relationships, pretty much, is play. So the book has a fair amount of interesting stories that I think we can all kind of learn from uh, and just enjoy, as well as a good bit of science and kind of a proposal for how we might do it more.
Wonderful. So we'll get a sneak peek into Cas Holman's personal and
Yeah.
in this book. The playful products you design, they are intentionally open-ended. For example, Rigamajig, right? So how does the same principle apply to adult play? For example, what would an open-ended approach to work or problem solving look like?
Yeah, with work with adults, that's kind of a it depends a lot on the work, of course, that people are doing. But I think largely one thing that prevents adults from really diving in and feeling good in kind of a playful approach is our kind of attachment to success, right? I think we tend to be very yeah, attached to doing something right or doing it well. I think we're also hesitant to look stupid, for lack of a better term. That's one thing that I heard from people quite a bit. They're like, I don't want to look stupid, or I don't want to feel stupid by not knowing the answer, right? Like it makes us feel good when we do something we know how to do, or when we do something that we know we're good at. There's that reward of like success, and we're like, ah, I am a smart, competent adult, right? That's what I'm supposed to be. And I think that there are lots of ways that we can kind of let go of that need, the need to do something right or do something well. And in play, that's much easier. It's much easier to kind of experiment and explore and not be so caught up in the outcome or the right answer. And so in a lot of people's work, that looks like different things. In some cases, it's like you're letting your know, like knowing that your boss is also going to support you in trying some new things that might not have a predictable outcome or the outcome that they're looking for, but maybe will lead you somewhere else entirely, right? So the creative process, I think, in order to really lead you somewhere new, has to uh, uh, has to allow for things that you don't really even know what you're going to do with, and that's fine, right? So in that case, it's like also kind of letting go of our need to be efficient or productive, right? Like the fastest way there, the most direct way there, is probably the one that you kind of have done before or we know the outcome of. Um, and it's not very playful, usually. And so taking kind of a playful approach to solving a problem would mean that you kind of let yourself meander on the way or let yourself explore something that you're not kind of sure about, which typically also means having the support of everybody around you so that your team or your boss or your even the people who maybe work for you directly, if you're their boss, um, it means that everybody is on the same page and you don't fear judgment for doing something in an odd way or doing something that has a kind of like strange outcome that you couldn't have known.
So the book mentions that play can help with everything from well-being to innovation. And for educators listening to us or reading this interview, how might embracing personal play improve their teaching?
One thing that I suggest to educators is that when they're in their own time, in their own space, they kind of let themselves do the thing that feels unproductive, right? I think productivity is also tricky. I hear from teachers who say that, when they're at home, even on the weekend or in the evenings, they feel like their time is so limited, they have to make the best of it. And I think that the first step is realizing that play is an excellent use of your time. The same way, if you prioritize play the way that you prioritize exercise or sleep or eating well, then you might let yourself kind of dilly-dally or even like tinker around, right? So in some cases, even like rearranging the living room or cleaning out a junk drawer might feel a little bit playful. And that could be a step toward letting yourself do the thing that's like, those are both productive, but they also might be something that like you're kind of getting something out of, right? Going through things, reorganizing and sorting. And of course, like sorting is play for children as well. Um, and so as adults, like that can actually be kind of playful. And in a way, like if it's something that you feel like you need to do, I think especially the organizing, right? We don't have very much, there's a lot of things in our lives that are uncertain and don't feel like they're under our control. So I think that for me, in the last few years in particular, sorting and organizing has become part of my play in a way that it wasn't before. And I'm calling it play instead of like kind of cleaning up because I'm like intuitively driven to do it. I have a similar flow state and I feel satisfied. And I can tell that it's fulfilling something in me that I really need, which is to have control over something, even if it's my silverware drawer, right? So in that way, I think like kind of broaden your idea of play and let yourself do the thing that you might otherwise think is not essential. Um, and that might help you step toward doing something that's actually like maybe a little more kind of playful in the way that we think of, right? Like creating something or making something that might be considered art. Um, Playing with your dog or dancing around the living room. Those are things that you can't necessarily, it's hard to kind of say, now I'm going to dance around the living room, right? Like if you don't want to do it, it's not really going to work, right? But if you have the urge, you might be able to kind of listen to it and let yourself do it more if you've kind of tiptoed toward it by letting go of this idea that everything has to be productive. And listening, like tuning back into something inside of you that's saying like, oh, it would feel good to move around right now, right? Or like, we're done with the dishes, or why don't we dance while we put away the dishes, you know? So there's kind of a like there's a few different steps. Like we have to um like release our fear of failure, kind of embrace possibilities of being open to what we don't know is going to come, and then kind of reframe success. Like what does success look like for an evening at home or for a weekend, right? And letting go of the idea that it has to be productive or you have to maximize your time. So for teachers, I do think it will make the classroom more enjoyable for them. I think that if you feel better while you're doing your job, you're better at your job. uh, and definitely connect with the students more because you'll be speaking their language, right? If you're fluent in play and a child's primary drive and a primary language is play, you'll be able to see what's going on in their play, right? The nuance of like the developmental milestones and things that they're learning and things they're expressing as they're playing are going to be much more visible to teachers if the teacher is fluent in that language, which is play. So if the teacher can connect to their own sense of play, which I also think can happen when they observe play. So observing the students and looking for moments that they're connecting with each other, or even like having new discoveries in there. Maybe it's in their drawings or with Rigamajig, for example, as they're building with Rigamajig, there are all kinds of things that are happening, even in like things that might look like conflict, right? That can happen and play in a way that the child is motivated to resolve it. And that's really powerful when the child can kind of have a moment with a peer that might look like conflict, and if they can resolve it on their own, that of course like brings them whole new skills that they wouldn't have if someone else were resolving it for them. So by observing, being more skilled at playing themselves, the teacher is probably going to be better at observing and letting children or helping children kind of work through things amongst themselves and on their own.
So just one final question. If someone could only take away one core message from Playful, what would you want it to be?
The play has value. Our lives, our adult lives in particular, we tend to prioritize productivity or efficiency or work. And I think we get in habits of shutting down our play voice. In the book, I suggest that we have a play voice and an adult voice. and that our adult voice kind of shuts down our play voice. So I have some pointers for how to listen to your play voice and hear it, and as soon as you start listening to it, then it kind of gets empowered and it starts to suggest more ways that you might play. But we all, I think, can listen to our play voice more, and realize that it's there to help us. The play voice isn't trying to make us look silly or humiliated in public, right? And so I think that adults, by prioritizing play and respecting it, hopefully will let ourselves play more. And I think that we'll all be better off for it. Not just the children, our children and our students, but ourselves and our communities will be stronger if we let ourselves play together. I think it's yeah, it's critical to being human.
Thank you, Cas. I can't wait to read the book. And when is it released?
It'll be out October 21st. Pre-sales are starting now, so you can pre-order it. It's this. And we'll have a few links for different pre-order incentives and things. So
Yes, so we'll publish all the links where you can pre-order the book, and the official sales start at the end of October. So go ahead
yes.
and pre-order the book.